Thank you for visiting the Miltenberger Law Offices YouTube channel and our website. We are a proven criminal defense law firm in Nebraska with over 1,000 cases handled and over 12 years of combined legal experience. Our firm has created these audio articles to help educate you on your rights, protect your freedom, and help you achieve the best solution for the charges you are facing. If we are hired for your case, we will never back down, no matter the odds. Interstate 80 Drug Stops Lawyer in Omaha, Nebraska. Interstate 80 cuts across Nebraska from border to border. It is one of the busiest highways in the United States. It is also one of the most heavily patrolled. Every day, law enforcement officers stop vehicles traveling through Omaha, Lincoln, Grand Island, Kearney, North Platte, and countless other Nebraska communities along I-80. Some of those stops result in warnings or citations. Others turn into drug investigations very quickly. At Miltenberger Law Offices, we represent individuals charged with drug offenses following traffic stops on Interstate 80 throughout the Omaha area and across Nebraska. Whether the allegations involve simple possession, possession with intent to distribute, trafficking, conspiracy, federal drug crimes, or anything else under the Nebraska Uniform Controlled Substances Act, Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-416. We help clients challenge the government's evidence and protect their rights. If you are arrested following an Interstate 80 drug stop in Omaha or elsewhere in Nebraska, call 402-217-2267 or contact us online to discuss your situation with an experienced Nebraska drug crimes defense attorney. Because getting pulled over for speeding and ending up facing felony drug charges is not how most people expect their road trip to go. Why Interstate 80 drug stops in Nebraska receive so much attention. Interstate 80 serves as one of the primary transportation corridors connecting the East Coast and West Coast. It is routinely ranked as the top route for truckers. As a result, law enforcement agencies often view portions of I-80 as a significant route for the transportation of controlled substances and other alleged criminal activity. Agencies commonly involved in Interstate 80 investigations include Nebraska State Patrol, local police departments, county sheriff's offices, drug task forces, Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI. These agencies routinely conduct highway interdiction operations designed to identify suspected criminal activity along major transportation routes. In 1 year, the Nebraska Commercial Interdiction Unit confiscated $8.6 million in illicit drugs, $80,620 in cash, and 9 illegal weapons. Unfortunately, that often means ordinary drivers traveling I-80 in Nebraska find themselves facing extensive questioning, vehicle searches, and serious criminal allegations after what began as a routine traffic stop. Interstate 80 drug stop statistics and trends. Interstate 80 runs approximately 455 miles across Nebraska, making it the state's primary east-west transportation route. Nebraska State Patrol officials and news reports have repeatedly described I-80 as a significant drug trafficking route. In one 2025 report by KLKN, a Nebraska State Patrol lieutenant described I-80 as one of the state's drug trafficking hotspots, after troopers found nearly 200 pounds of suspected drugs during 2 major stops. Recent public reports show why law enforcement devotes so much attention to the corridor. Nebraska State Patrol reported finding approximately 525 pounds of suspected cocaine and 9.3 grams of suspected heroin during an I-80 traffic stop near Milford, in 2026. Troopers reportedly seized 110 pounds of suspected methamphetamine and 85 pounds of suspected marijuana during 2 I-80 stops in 2025. Nebraska State Patrol announced the discovery of 130 pounds of suspected methamphetamine during an I-80 traffic stop in eastern Nebraska in 2025. A separate report described an I-80 stop near York involving 19 pounds of fentanyl pills and 5 pounds of methamphetamine. There are also broader traffic enforcement numbers to consider. Nebraska's 2024 statewide traffic stop report listed 383,694 traffic stops reported to the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice by 185 law enforcement agencies. The report also stated that the Nebraska State Patrol, together with agencies from Douglas, Lancaster, and Sarpy counties, accounted for 51.7% of total reported stops. Those numbers help explain why Interstate 80 drug cases are common in Nebraska. They do not prove that any particular stop was lawful. They do not prove that any particular search was constitutional. And they definitely do not prove that a specific person knowingly possessed drugs found in a vehicle. Statistics explain enforcement patterns. They do not replace evidence. Common drug charges following Interstate 80 traffic stops in Omaha. Drug investigations along Interstate 80 can lead to a wide variety of state and federal criminal charges. Drug possession. Drug possession charges are among the most common offenses arising from Interstate 80 traffic stops. Cases may involve marijuana, methamphetamine, fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, prescription medications, or other controlled substances. Possession with intent to distribute. When law enforcement believes drugs were intended for sale, transfer, or distribution, prosecutors may pursue possession with intent to distribute charges. These offenses often carry significantly greater penalties than simple possession allegations. Drug trafficking charges. Drug trafficking allegations frequently arise when larger quantities of controlled substances are discovered or when investigators believe drugs were being transported across state lines. Drug conspiracy charges. State and federal prosecutors sometimes pursue conspiracy allegations when they believe multiple individuals participated in a drug-related agreement. These cases often rely heavily on phone records, text messages, financial transactions, and statements from cooperating witnesses. Federal drug crimes. Some Interstate 80 investigations ultimately move into federal court. Federal prosecutors may become involved when allegations include interstate transportation, large quantities of controlled substances, organized distribution networks, or multi-state investigations. How Omaha Interstate 80 drug investigations usually begin. Most Interstate 80 drug cases do not begin with officers announcing they are conducting a drug investigation. They usually begin with a traffic stop. Common reasons cited for traffic stops include following too closely. Nebraska Revised Statutes, Section 60-6, 140. Improper lane usage, Section 60-6, 139. Failure to signal, Section 60-6, 161. Speeding, equipment violations, tinted windows, registration issues, expired license plates. Sometimes the traffic violation is exactly what it appears to be. Sometimes it is merely the reason officers use to initiate contact. Either way, what happens after the stop often becomes far more important than the traffic ticket itself. The traffic stop in Omaha, Nebraska, isn't always the real investigation. Many drivers assume the purpose of the stop is the alleged traffic violation. That may not be the officer's primary focus. During Interstate 80 stops in the Omaha area and across Nebraska, officers often ask questions regarding travel plans, destination, origin city, length of travel, rental vehicles, passengers, luggage, employment, criminal history. Investigators may also pay attention to factors such as nervousness, air fresheners, energy drinks, multiple cell phones, inconsistent answers, third-party vehicles, rental agreements. You may think you're discussing a lane violation. The officer may believe something entirely different is happening. Why out-of-state drivers are frequently targeted on Interstate 80 in Nebraska. Many Interstate 80 drug stops involve drivers who do not live in Nebraska. That is not a coincidence. Interstate 80 is a major cross-country route used by travelers, commercial drivers, rental vehicles, and people passing through Nebraska on their way somewhere else. Law enforcement agencies know that, and they often focus attention on vehicles with out-of-state plates, one-way rental agreements, unusual travel plans, or routes they believe are connected to drug transportation. That does not mean every out-of-state driver is doing something illegal. Fortunately, driving across Nebraska is still allowed. A person can be tired, nervous, confused, driving a rental car, carrying luggage, and passing through Nebraska without committing a crime. In Interstate 80 drug cases, the defense often begins by separating lawful travel behavior from actual evidence. Interstate 80 drug stops often lead to vehicle searches. Many Interstate 80 drug investigations eventually involve a vehicle search. Those searches may occur through probable cause, consent, K-9 alerts, search warrants, other recognized legal exceptions. One of the most important questions in any Interstate 80 drug case is often, did law enforcement have the legal right to conduct the search? The answer is not always as simple as prosecutors would like it to be. Can police search your vehicle without permission in Nebraska? The answer depends on the circumstances. The Fourth Amendment protects individuals from unreasonable searches and seizures. Courts have spent decades determining when officers may stop vehicles, search property, obtain warrants, and seize evidence. In some situations, officers may search a vehicle without consent. In others, they may need probable cause, a warrant, or another lawful basis. These issues are often highly fact-specific, which is exactly why every Interstate 80 drug case deserves a thorough legal review by a skilled drug crimes defense attorney in Omaha. Interstate 80 Drug Stop Resources in Nebraska. Legal Information Institute Overview of Search and Seizure Law. This resource explains legal principles surrounding searches, seizures, probable cause, warrants, consent, and suppression issues. Many I-80 drug cases turn on whether law enforcement obtained evidence lawfully. National Institute on Drug Abuse, also known as NIDA, part of the National Institutes of Health, NIDA conducts research on drug use, addiction, treatment, and public health trends. The organization provides extensive information regarding commonly abused substances, opioid-related issues, and the science behind addiction and recovery. Nebraska's Uniform Controlled Substances Act, Nebraska Revised Statute Section 28-405. Online Database, Nebraska's Controlled Substance Schedules Statute. This resource identifies how various substances are classified under state law, which can affect charging decisions and potential penalties in drug cases. Law Enforcement Action Partnership, also known as LEAP, a national organization made up of law enforcement veterans and criminal justice professionals who advocate for evidence-based approaches to public safety and drug policy. Their website offers research, educational materials, and perspectives on policing practices, community engagement, and criminal justice reform. K-9 searches along Interstate 80. Drug detection dogs are commonly used during Interstate 80 investigations in Omaha, Lincoln, and many municipalities throughout Nebraska. In many cases, officers request a K-9 unit after developing suspicions during a traffic stop. However, constitutional issues frequently arise regarding the length of the detention, whether officers improperly prolong the stop, the reliability of the K-9 alert, the circumstances surrounding the search. A dog alert is not a magic wand that automatically makes every search lawful. Courts routinely examine how the stop occurred, how long the detention lasted, and whether officers followed constitutional requirements. Common defenses in Interstate 80 drug cases. Every case presents unique facts, but several defense issues frequently arise in Nebraska highway drug investigations. Unlawful traffic stops. If officers lacked a lawful basis for initiating the stop, evidence obtained afterward may be subject to challenge. Prolonged detention. Law enforcement cannot always extend a traffic stop indefinitely while waiting for additional investigative resources to arrive. Illegal vehicle searches. Searches that violate constitutional protections may result in evidence suppression. Invalid consent. Not every alleged consent search is legally valid. Courts may examine whether consent was actually voluntary. Lack of possession. When drugs are discovered in vehicles containing multiple occupants, prosecutors may face significant challenges proving who actually possessed the substance. Lack of knowledge. The government generally must establish that the accused knew the drugs were present. Insufficient evidence. The burden remains entirely on the government. You do not have to prove your innocence. Prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. That remains true whether the stop occurred in Omaha, North Platte, Lincoln, Kearney, or anywhere else along Interstate 80. When Interstate 80 drug cases become federal cases. Some cases remain in Nebraska State Court. Others do not. Federal authorities may become involved when allegations include large drug quantities, interstate transportation, drug trafficking investigations, conspiracy allegations, wiretap investigations, multi-state operations, DEA involvement. Federal court is not where you want to learn criminal procedure for the first time. The stakes are often significantly higher, and federal prosecutors generally have substantial resources available to them. What should you do if you were arrested following an Interstate 80 drug stop? Step 1. Remain silent. You have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. Use both. Step 2. Do not consent to additional searches. If law enforcement seeks consent to search additional property, phones, or devices, politely decline and speak with an attorney. Step 3. Preserve evidence. Keep records, receipts, travel information, text messages, and any other information that may become relevant to your defense. Step 4. Stay off social media. Do not discuss your case online, not on Facebook, not on Instagram, not on TikTok, not anywhere. Step 5. Follow all release conditions. If released from custody, comply with every condition imposed by the court. Step 6. Contact an attorney immediately. The sooner an experienced Interstate 80 drug stop lawyer becomes involved, the sooner your rights can be protected and your defense can begin. Why choose Miltenberger Law Offices in Omaha, Nebraska? Interstate 80 drug cases often move quickly. By the time charges are filed, prosecutors may already have reports, body camera footage, dash camera footage, laboratory testing, search records, and witness statements. Our job is to slow things down. We examine the traffic stop, the detention, the search, the evidence, the investigation, and the assumptions being made by the government. Because simply finding drugs in a vehicle does not automatically mean prosecutors can prove who possessed them, who knew about them, or what they intended to do with them. Those details matter, and they often make all the difference. Frequently asked questions about Interstate 80 drug stops in Nebraska. Can Nebraska police search my car during an Interstate 80 traffic stop? Answer: not automatically. Whether police can search your vehicle depends on the facts of the stop, whether you gave valid consent, whether officers had probable cause, whether a K-9 alert occurred, and whether any other legal exception applies. Vehicle searches are often one of the most important issues in an Interstate 80 drug case. Can I refuse a vehicle search? Answer: in many situations, yes. If officers ask for consent to search your vehicle, you generally have the right to politely decline. If law enforcement has another lawful basis to search, they may proceed anyway. But volunteering consent can make it harder to challenge the search later. What if a K-9 alerted on my vehicle? Answer: a K-9 alert can become an important part of the government's case, but it does not automatically make every Nebraska search lawful. Courts may still examine whether the stop was properly initiated, whether the detention was unlawfully prolonged, how the dog was deployed, and whether the alert was reliable. Can police extend a traffic stop to wait for a drug dog? Answer: sometimes this becomes a major constitutional issue. Officers generally cannot prolong a traffic stop without lawful justification. If the stop was extended beyond the time reasonably necessary to handle the traffic matter, evidence discovered later may be subject to challenge. What if drugs were found in a rental car? Answer: rental car cases often raise important questions about possession, knowledge, and control. Prosecutors must prove more than the fact that drugs were found somewhere in the vehicle. They must connect the alleged drugs to the person charged. Can I be charged if I was only a passenger? Answer: yes, passengers can be charged in some cases. However, being present in a vehicle where drugs are found does not automatically prove possession. The government must establish knowledge and control, which can be difficult when multiple people had access to the vehicle or luggage. What if I was just passing through Nebraska? Answer: you can still face Nebraska criminal charges even if you do not live in the state. Many Interstate 80 drug cases involve out-of-state drivers or passengers. If you are charged in Nebraska, your case will generally proceed through Nebraska courts, unless it becomes a federal matter. Can an Interstate 80 drug stop in Nebraska become a federal case? Answer: yes. Federal authorities may become involved when allegations include large drug quantities, interstate transportation, conspiracy claims, multi-state investigations, or DEA involvement. Federal cases involve different procedures, sentencing rules, and risks than state cases. What happens if police seized cash during the stop? Answer: cash seizures may raise civil asset forfeiture issues in addition to any criminal charges. In some cases, the government may attempt to keep seized money or property by alleging it was connected to drug activity. That issue should be addressed quickly. Can charges from Interstate 80 drug stops in Omaha and across Nebraska be dismissed? Answer: possibly. Charges may be reduced or dismissed when evidence is weak, the search was unlawful, the detention was improperly prolonged, the government cannot prove possession, or constitutional violations occurred. Every case depends on the specific facts. When should I contact an Omaha drug crimes defense lawyer after an Interstate 80 drug stop? Answer: immediately. Evidence such as dash camera footage, body camera footage, K-9 records, dispatch logs, and witness information can be critical. The sooner an Omaha drug crimes attorney becomes involved, the sooner those issues can be investigated and preserved. Talk to an Interstate 80 drug stops lawyer in Omaha today. If you were arrested, charged, or believe you are under investigation following a traffic stop on Interstate 80 in Omaha or anywhere across Nebraska, now is the time to act. The earlier an experienced attorney becomes involved, the more opportunities there may be to challenge the government's case, preserve evidence, and protect your future. Call 402-217-2267 or contact Miltenberger Law Offices online today to discuss your situation confidentially and learn how an experienced Interstate 80 drug stops lawyer in Omaha can help. Miltenberger Law Offices is a leading criminal defense law firm serving the entire state of Nebraska. We are headquartered in Omaha and serve Douglas County, Lancaster County, Lincoln, Sarpy County, and all of Nebraska. We look forward to helping you with your criminal defense attorney needs.